Go to get your game on. Go for the beers. Go for the cheers. Go for the hit and the hits. Go for the stakes and the stakes. Go to get your parlay on. Go to get your party on. Go for the scene. Go for the screens. Go for the gallery. Go for the win. Go to Ocean. Visit theoceanac.com to plan your visit.
Philadelphia fans, we're cut from a different cloth. Born into a brotherhood and bonded to our team for life. We believe anything is possible because we've witnessed the impossible. While we may be from different neighborhoods, come Sunday, we are one, and we will be heard. Pondley Hockey, official partner of the Philadelphia Eagles.
Back at it again. It's the Football Playbook with your boy, RIC, and the place to be, Ric Serritella. Telling like it is when it comes to your first place 11-1 Philadelphia Eagles here on the JAKIB Sports YouTube channel. We'll get around the league with some NFL action. Week number 14, NFL Pick'em coming up later in the show. It's a double chin strap affair. Got the super producer, Tone DeShields, the second, all strapped in, ready to go for the next 2 hours of power. Counting you down to the sports take, guys. Counting you down to the 2023 NFL Draft, 139 days away. I'm excited about that. Counting you down to the Eagles and Giants, 51 hours away at MetLife Stadium. I'm excited about that. I'm going to have a little score predictions later on in the show. I know the listening audience, hunker down. You should be excited about that. All our chat room people, man, we're getting started early up in here. Adams Exploits, Philly 559, Danny D, Brick City, Newark, New Jersey, Richard Rosaria, East Hanover, Paisan, Sean S, JM, William Stark. Ooh, baby. Buckle up, baby. Yes, Paisan. I got 2 locks. We'll figure out a third one for that 3-team parlay by the end of the show. I can promise you that. And yeah, JM, I ended the show last night by telling you guys, hey, could not get on board with the Las Vegas Raiders. We talk about frauds all the time on the Football Playbook. Joshy McDaniels and the Las Vegas Raiders is what you call fugazi. Okay? And so not only did you lose to Jeff Sunday, you lost to Baker Mayfield, 36 hours to learn the playbook. I mean, had you looking silly. I mean, that was pretty embarrassing to lose. The Rams win by 1, 17-16. And, you know, some of these coaches that we praise for being these brainchilds, right? Like, oh, this Josh McDaniels, man, he's such a smart guy. Yeah, sometimes you guys outthink yourselves. Brandon Staley, he's another one. They like these guys like to outthink themselves. Okay, you got first of all, they go down the field 97 seconds in less than 90 seconds, and then the final play of the game, you go single man coverage with press man coverage with single high safety, no back end help. What do you expect is going to happen on that play? Oh my God! Woo! I'll tell you. God bless Josh McDaniels and the Las Vegas Raiders, but I picked up another W, by the way. So we'll get into the pick'ems. We are 110-85 on the season, 111-85 on the season now with the win last night. Texas boy, you're the only fraud up in here. Okay. The Eagles are not frauds. In fact, the Philadelphia Eagles are the most dangerous offensive gauntlet franchise in the National Football League. This team is so talented, so good. Because I'm not emotionally attached like a lot of Bird Gang fans are, I can actually step back and appreciate and soak in and absorb the magic that's occurring right in front of our eyes, guys. Hey, this is something special going on, and I've been hopping and bopping in and out of the morning shows. Good Morning NFC East, Birds 365, and True Savage. Welcome to the show, Sean S. I see you. Listen, you know why the Eagles and Giants haven't felt like a rivalry game? I had to go back and look this up because very rarely, it seems like never ever, are the Eagles and Giants ever good in the same season. And I had to go back and find out, like, when's the last time that there was a season where both teams were relevant, AKA they both had winning records? And you've got to go back over a decade. Travis, welcome. Good morning. Buckle up. Hope you're strapped in. You got to go back over a decade to find the last time both the Giants and Eagles finished with a winning record. Okay? That's why it hasn't felt like much of a rivalry. And for most of the past decade, it's been the Giants who have been the bottom feeders. But believe it or not, all time, this team has actually played, 175 times? In 175 games, the Eagles have won 87 games. The New York Giants have won 85 games. And they have tied twice. Now, believe it or not, the Giants have actually won 2 of the last 3 meetings. But you have to go all the way back to 2010, 12 years ago, to find the last season that both the Giants and Jets finished with a winning record. And that's when it was. That's when it really was a rivalry. Like, if you go back and look, some of us are old enough to remember. There's a window there from like 2006 to 2011 where both the Eagles and Giants either finished 500 or had a winning record. So there was like a 5-year stretch where neither team had a losing record. But one could argue that the NFC East, and back in 2011, I think is when you had the Giants were 9-7. They won the division. The Eagles and Cowboys were both 8-8, very similar to this year. But I would argue this year's NFC East is the strongest it's ever been, or I've ever seen since they switched to this 4-team divisional format. When did they do that? However long that's been, I've got to say this is the toughest the NFC East has been during that time frame. And hey, the Eagles are catching the Giants at a good time because they got out of the gates like Secretariat. They were 6-1. They were cruising. They were coming around the turn, feeling real good about themselves. Not so much the last 5. Last 5 games, they're 1-3-1. Okay? Not only that, Saquon Barkley popped up on the injury report yesterday with a neck. Now, he was limited, but looking at the situation, I mean, Saquon Barkley with the neck, last 3 games, stark difference compared to the first half of the season. The first 9 games of the year, Saquon Barkley was in the MVP conversation, right? The first 9 games of the year, he had 931 rushing yards. He was averaging 4.7 a carry. He had 6 rushing touchdowns. That's just on the ground. He does lead the NFL in scrimmage yards. And, the last 3 games, very, very different story with Saquon Barkley. 44 carries, 124 rushing yards, a 2.8 yards per carry average, almost 2 yards fewer per rushing attempt, only 2 touchdowns. So, while Saquon has had pretty good history against the Eagles, right? 6 games. In 6 games versus the Eagles, Saquon Barkley, 636 scrimmage yards, 4 touchdowns, right? He's one of 4 running backs in the NFL this year with 1,000 yards rushing. It is his 3rd year breaking that 1,000-yard barrier. He was banged up last year, but the 2 previous years he went for over 1,000 yards rushing, something that Miles Sanders has never done. Now, Miles needs, I think, like 76 yards for his first 1,000-yard season. But remember, Miles Sanders was supposed to be the next big thing coming out of Penn State, right? Because Miles Sanders, his freshman year, him and Saquon were teammates over there in Happy Valley. So there's a relationship there. That's a story that really hasn't been discussed much on this show this week. Miles Sanders and Saquon Barkley, they were teammates. They're friends. They still talk. And to this point, you would have to say that Saquon Barkley has had the better career. But guess what? They're both going to hit free agency this year. They're both going to have durability concerns. Depending on the price tag, it'll be interesting to see who's the better value during the offseason. We shall see. One other guy, we talk about X factors a lot. We have failed to mention the name that Giants fans do not want to hear. The one name that not only makes Giants fans quiver when it comes to Philadelphia, but the man even has Boston in his name. I mean, this is the enemy number 1 for Big Blue, Boston Scott. This guy is what you call a giant killer, right? We haven't talked about that. And I do expect the Eagles to go out of their way to get more touches for the one Boston Scott this week. Absolutely. I don't know what it is. At this point, it might just be a mental thing where Boston Scott gets up for the Giants. Got a little extra pep in his step. This Sunday, I don't know what it is, but man, in 6 games, you heard Saquon Barkley's numbers in 6 games versus the Eagles. Guess what? Boston Scott's even better in his 6 games against the Giants. He's actually got similar total yards. He's got 327 rushing yards, 218 receiving yards, and 8 touchdowns. 8 touchdowns. And I think 1 or 2 might have came on special teams. This Boston Scott, man, bro, I want to see Boston Scott touch the ball at least 10 to 12 times outside of kick returns. 15 times, including kick returns. You want to throw him back there on a punt return? I know Covey's coming off his best day, but it's Boston Scott week. I don't know. And I'm not a big fan of like deviating from the game plan and going out of our way to make sure certain individuals get touches, but this week I probably would. So, also, it was interesting. Like Miles Sanders said, he was listening to that noise. Like, you know, we went over some of the press conferences yesterday, and one of the messages, I think it was Jalen Hurts. It was like, hey, or maybe it was Brandon Graham, said, stop reading the media. That was his advice to the teammates. Stop reading the media. Block out the noise. Well, Miles Sanders admitted he was listening to all that static last year. He said, I paid attention to what the fans said last year. And he said it made me want to prove everybody wrong this season. So, Philadelphia Eagles fans, give yourself a pat on the back this morning, right? Give yourself a good old Brooklyn brawler pat on the back, because you lit a fire under Miles Sanders' ass this year, man. You made him go out and buy some of those big boy pants, right? So, you know, the running backs are going to be a focal point, I think, in this game, more so for the Giants than the Eagles, because the Philadelphia Eagles have the most dangerous offense in the NFL, hands down, and there's no one even close. And there's nothing that nobody can do about stopping them. Who has proven to stop this offense? I'll wait. This is the most dangerous offense in the NFL. And I know, like, people are still trying to figure out, is Jalen Hurts the MVP? Yo, as the weeks go on, there will be one man standing alone on top of the mountain. I don't think you need more than one guess to figure out who that's going to be. First of all, I just want to get this out of my system real quick since I said it. The Eagles have the best offense, and it's not even close. The Chiefs have the best quarterback. Okay. The Bengals, I think, have the best team. But at the end of the day, the contenders are going to fall one by one. To me, last week, Joe Burrow proved he was a bigger MVP candidate than Patrick Mahomes is last week. That's how my ballot looks. And I hear, you know, I listen to a lot of these shows on the JAKIB Sports YouTube channel. One thing I disagree wholeheartedly, very, very, very strong about this. The Buffalo Bills are not one of the best teams in the NFL. Josh Allen is not. I repeat, Josh Allen is not an MVP candidate or one of the best quarterbacks in the league. That guy is dumb as rocks. Josh Allen is an idiot. I hate to tell you that. He's just a dumb guy. Some guys get it, and some guys don't. I'd put Josh Allen in the Carson Wentz category for dumbness. And some guys are just so thick-headed, which I can relate to. I myself am paisan, thick-headed. Can be tough to, you know, smash something in the head, but, like, Josh Allen will never get it. Just like Carson Wentz will never get it. And I've told this story. Like, Carson Wentz, I saw him at the combine. I try to help the guy out. I try to save his career before he put it in jeopardy. Because at North Dakota State, 2 years in a row, he got hurt running the ball, diving head first. And his first handful of significant injuries in Philly were diving, running the ball head first. And I went up to Carson at the combine, and he didn't know me from a hole in the wall, right? He had no idea how many quarterbacks I saw come before him, how many quarterbacks I've seen come after him, how many quarterbacks I'm going to continue to see after his career is long gone. But I said, yo, Carson, do yourself a favor, son. Stop diving head first. I said, stop diving head first. You're going to shorten your career. My man, in one ear, out the other, thought who the hell he was, didn't want to hear any advice from a stranger, that's for sure. But, the guy went and ruined his career by diving head first on quarterback runs. That's Josh Allen. The guy doesn't get it. He can continue to get hurt. He can smash his UCL in his shoulder, and he's still like, he'll lower his shoulder to gain an extra yard. That's meaningless. I mean, what a dumb guy. Very, very, very low football IQ, that Josh Allen. Very, very, very low football IQ. And that's the difference between Jalen Hurts, Patrick Mahomes, Joe Burrow. They have high football IQ. Josh Allen, I guarantee you, save this clip, Tone. I guarantee Josh Allen never wins a Super Bowl. Never, ever. He just isn't smart enough. He's not one of the top quarterbacks, and the Buffalo Bills are not one of the top teams. In the AFC, it's really between Kansas City, Cincinnati, maybe Miami. Maybe. But to me, the top 4 teams in football, Kansas City and Cincinnati, Philadelphia, and Dallas. Those are the teams. Josh Allen didn't beat Patrick Mahomes. The Buffalo Bills beat the Kansas City Chiefs. But I'm just telling you, in a big spot, the Chiefs will come back around again and win that game. They'll probably see each other again. And the Chiefs will take it if the Chiefs can beat the Bengals. The Bengals have beaten the Chiefs 3 times in a row. Yeah, well, Ocam's Razor, thank you for joining us. Dak 2-0, True Savage, I see you. Jeeb, GSXR. And, oh, no way. Josh Allen is not better than Jalen Hurts. Are you kidding? It goes to show, like, I hate to say this about anybody, but it just goes to show how uneducated folks can be. If they think Josh Allen is a better quarterback than Jalen Hurts, then they're not watching the games. Hey, to each their own, man. I just call it like I see it here on the Football Playbook. You know what I'm saying? Real talk. Philadelphia Eagles 11-1 heading up to the Meadowlands. Take on the Giants 7-4-1, 87-85-2. The Eagles lead this all time. 1 p.m. MetLife Stadium. Joe Davis, Moose Johnston, Pam Oliver on the call with Fox this week. We got some injury updates here for the upcoming game. Sean Bradley missed his second straight practice with that hamstring injury. So now we're getting to a realistic scenario where Sean Bradley, special teams demon, could miss this game. And I think at this point, Christian Ellis will be called up regardless if Sean Bradley can go or not. It seems to be a no-brainer. Quez Watkins with the shoulder. Kaiser White with the ankle yesterday held out of action. Now, both of these guys are expected to play. We talked about it yesterday. I'm not sure I would rush Quez Watkins back if he's a little iffy. Now, Kaiser White with the ankle, that that could lead to more playing time for Nakobe Dean this Sunday, which I think is a good thing. I'll get into my reason and logic for that later on in the show. Avonte Maddox sounds like he's going to be back. We were waiting to see how he was going to react after practice yesterday. And Jordan Davis will see his snap count increase this week. Andre Chicheri re-signed to the practice squad this week, in case you missed that. And then injury reserve updates. Dallas Goedert, who was seen in the training room yesterday getting some work done on the shoulder, appears to be ready for next week's return. He's slated to be back next week against the Bears. It looks like he's on course for that. Chauncey Gardner-Johnson obviously is going to miss this week. He's eligible for week 17 against the Saints to be activated. And I think, in an ideal world, you want to have, 1 or 2 games for Chauncey Gardner-Johnson to kick off that rust before the playoffs. And then Robert Quinn, who they placed on the IR this week, he's eligible to come off the injured reserve week 18. But to me, I don't know. Robert Quinn, he just doesn't seem like a fit with this Eagles roster. And that's okay. I'm okay with it. It's not everything is going to work out all of the time. Joseph and Sue seem to be working out okay. I'll take it. So that is your Eagles injury updates. There is, a laundry list of Giants injuries to get into, and I'll get into that later on in the show, because coming up next, we have our guy, Mike Gill from the Sports Bash, checking in. So we're going to take a quick break. We're going to pay some bills. Smash that like button while you're here, and we'll see you on the way back in.
At Pond Lehocky, we've recovered billions of dollars for our clients, and we're confident we can do the same for you. With over 250 years of combined courtroom experience, we've helped over 100,000 injured clients obtain some of the largest settlements in Pennsylvania. One conversation is all it takes to help you and your family get back on track. If you've been injured in an accident, give Pond Lehocky a call.
Jim Gardner is an icon.
A Philadelphia treasure.
He's a mentor, a pace setter.
Jim is my North Star.
He's trusted, revered,
appreciated.
He is Action News.
He's compassionate,
honest,
and fair.
He is extremely dedicated,
motivated, and always seeking the truth.
He's also funny.
We are a team of many.
Jim Gardner is our leader, and we're lucky to have him.
Go passionately. Go fearlessly. Go confidently.
Go Birds!
Go confidently towards your goals with First Trust, Philly's hometown bank for nearly 90 years, and the official bank of the Philadelphia Eagles. We're focused on getting you over the goal line. So go with conviction. Go with trust.
Go Birds!
And go forward with us by your side. First Trust Bank, the official bank of Philadelphia dreams. Oh, and go Birds.
We all know that taxes are just part of life. It's true during our working years, but also in retirement. But what you might not know is up to 85% of your Social Security benefits might be taxed. Our team at Thrive Financial has helped retire thousands of people across the Delaware Valley by asking questions they never knew they needed to ask. including how their Social Security benefits might be taxed. It's time to be proactive on taxes. Get your Thrive Retirement Tax Playbook today.
Back at it again. It's the Football Playbook Part 69 edition here on this Football Friday affair, December 9th, 2022, brought to you by Ocean Casino and Resorts. Buckle up. We're just getting started here on the Football Playbook, counting you down to the sports take coming up at noon. And I'll tell you what, man, since I've been doing this show here on the JAKIB Sports YouTube channel, by the way, click subscribe for all our show notifications and smash that like button. But since I've been here on the JAKIB Sports YouTube channel, I got to be honest, like I gotten away from sports talk for a while. It just became hard to talk or hard to listen to. These people talk about nonsense and everybody's a comedian and everybody's an extremist looking for clickbait. And then I saw this guy hopping and bopping around the JAKIB Sports YouTube channel. So I gave it a shot. And the Sports Rage 97.3, Mike Gill joins us here on the Football Playbook, man. It's so much fun listening to his show. Do we have him here, Tone? Do we have Mike Gill? Not yet. Okay. Well, I'm a little bit early to the party, but I love listening to the show, and I got a little bit of a beef, though, with my guy, Mike Gill, my Jersey Shore brethren, that I'm going to take up with him. So hopefully, we can pop him up here. Unfortunately, I was hoping to have Ralph Vacchiano from Fox Sports. He had a personal matter to attend to, so he had to cancel on us. And our good friend, Coach John DeFilippo, had a coaching matter to attend to. As you know, he's the new head coach of the New Orleans Breakers. They just hired a GM this week, so Coach Flip had to cancel on me. So you got RIC in the place to be talking Philly Dilly, which you hear today. And yeah, Robert Quinn, it was a rental and it was a pretty shrewd move. Like, Howie Roseman got the Bears to pick up, like, I forget how much of the tab, but the Bills were on the hook for like $7 million. I think the Eagles only paid like $700,000 for Robert Quinn's services. They were able to void the last 2 years. So he'll be out of here. He looks like a guy who's going to hang up the cleats. I can't imagine that he wants to continue playing based on the body language, the injuries, the comments that I've seen and heard from Robert Quinn. I don't know. But hey, who knows? Maybe Janarius Robinson, who's been activated to the 53-man roster, he's going to get some run here. And I think, depending on how Janarius Robinson looks, might ultimately dictate whether or not Robert Quinn is if there's a Robert Quinn sighting come playoff time. But we shall see. All right, so Miles Murphy, thank you, Dank Burrito. I love talking draft. We got 139 days until the 2023 NFL draft. Go to the NFLDraftBible.com. We've got over 600 scouting reports for 2023 and beyond. 50 days until the 2023 NFLPA Collegiate Bowl for all of our Los Angeles listeners. I'll be out at the Rose Bowl, Pasadena, coming at you at the end of January. So buckle up, holler at your boy if you're out in Cali. And, Miles Murphy is a guy that I've been on. This is a guy who made an immediate impact. Not too many guys come in as a true freshman at Clemson and start on the defensive line. And that's exactly what Miles Murphy did. And so this guy, he's strong, he's agile, he's versatile. And I think the biggest attribute for Miles Murphy is his ability to play up and down the defensive line. So he can play inside, he can play outside. I believe he's right around 6'4", 275 pounds. So that's a great frame, to kind of mold and work with. And especially if you got kind of like a hybrid defense, which the Eagles do have going on, just like Sue, I think Myles Murphy could be a guy that's an interchangeable part. He could play defensive tackle. He could even play defensive end in this Eagles scheme. Eagles mocks, I could see that. I could see that. And, while we're talking about it, I know that a lot of teams are starting to downgrade Will Anderson now, depending on who you are, what kind of scheme you run. There are a handful of teams that worry about Will Anderson's size. He comes in, he's probably 6'3" and change, but I think the concern with NFL teams are he's only 244 pounds. So, that is a little bit concerning. Does Will Anderson fit the Philadelphia Eagles scheme? Well, guess what? That was a similar knock on Hassan Reddick coming out of Temple. They didn't know. Like, is he a down lineman? Is he a stand-up guy? Is he an off-ball backer? Is he an edge rusher? And, Hassan Reddick has very similar size dimensions as Myles Murphy coming out of Clemson. So, I would think Myles Murphy would probably play a similar role to Hassan Reddick in the Philadelphia Eagles scheme under Jonathan Gannon. But, hey, it remains to be seen if and I'll just leave it at that. Hey, our next guest hanging out in the virtual green room is host of the Sports Rage 97.3, Mike Gill. What the deal? How we doing today in studio?
Sorry, man. I was pulled into a late meeting there, but I'm ready to go. You're talking draft, man. You're giving me draft stuff already.
That's what I do, Mike. It's my 21st year covering the NFL draft, and so we've got over 600 scouting reports over at NFLDraftBible.com right now. So you can get educated, get regulated, and I got a little bit of a bone to pick with you here before we get started because, listen, I was trying to give you the benefit of the doubt here because, I was always told, like, you got to be skeptical of those guys with two first names, right? Mike Gill Hodges, borderline, right? I was willing to give you the benefit of the doubt, but man, this whole butter on the counter deal.
Brother. It's funny because I had an overwhelming response about this.
Make this make sense to me, please. I mean, Paisan.
I had an overwhelming response to this on yesterday's show. And this morning, the funny part is I made an English muffin, went to go get the butter on the counter, and it was gone. So I had to go into the fridge and go get a stick of butter that was hard as a rock and unspreadable. Listen, I grew up in a butter in the fridge home. My girlfriend.
Wait a second. I've never known anything else in life. What do you mean?
I didn't either. Now, my girlfriend is from upstate Western New York, up by past Syracuse.
Yeah, that's questionable too.
Right. When we moved in together, she put the butter on the counter, and I was like, what is this? I didn't question it. I just was like, this is odd. But I fell in love with it. The butter is spreadable, man. You get the knife right through it, like a hot knife through butter. You don't have to put the butter in the microwave. It doesn't melt all over the place. It's ready. It's spreadable. It's ready to go.
No. Like, and just for clarification to the listening audience, like, Mike keeps the butter on the counter full time.
Yeah, full time. It's not like just sitting on the counter. It's in it's in something like when people have a nice dinner for Thanksgiving, they put the butter in this thing and then they present it. We just keep it in that on the counter all the time.
No. Like, right. I get it. Like, I toast a piece of bread. I take the butter out and I put it on the counter so that it softens.
Nah. Do me a favor. This weekend, take your butter out. When I'm back next time, you tell me, man, this was a liberating experience.
No, I'm pretty sure, Mike. I'm pretty sure I've left the butter out overnight. Okay. And when I woke up the next morning, it had like this film on it. Like, do you
Now-
know, like when you go to the supermarket, I've never seen the butter in the dry food aisle. It's always in the refrigerator aisle. I've never seen butter sitting on the shelf.
And they're not going to leave it sitting out, but I did the research.
Yeah.
Butter can
Right.
sit
But you
out
are.
of the refrigerator. Butter can sit out of the refrigerator for 1 to 3 months before it starts to go
That's
bad.
crazy, bro.
Yeah.
So
Hey,
you just got butter chilling on the counter for 3 months at a time. Like, oh, it's all good.
Now, come on, Rick. How fast do you go through butter? I got 4 people in my house. We go through butter pretty damn quickly. Like this morning, when I needed that butter and it was in the refrigerator, I had to put it in the microwave. And then you know what happened? I mic'd it too long. It was leaking all over the place. Nah, just put the butter. Listen, I grew up in an Italian household. We put the butter in the fridge. Bad move. I'm converted.
That's all I've ever known. I don't know. Apparently, there's 20% out there that are sick like you, but
Hey, you know what? I had a gentleman. I did my show yesterday on location. He came up to me and said, I was listening to you, and we keep our butter on the counter.
I don't know. Hey, we'll agree to disagree on that one. Mike Gill here, 97.3, the Sports Bash. Always enjoy chopping it up and breaking it down, Mike. To me, the Philadelphia Eagles have the most vaunted offense in the National Football League. I think the Giants are in for a big problem this week. How do you see it?
I don't know about that. Okay. I agree with the premise that the game is important for both sides, and the Giants are going to have to give everything. I think the Giants are in a terrible spot. They played Washington last week. They tie, which is essentially a win for them. Now they got to play Philly, and then they got to go on the road and play Washington, while Washington's sitting here watching them. So Washington plays them again. They played them. They can make adjustments. They can watch them again, make more adjustments, and then play them. This is a huge game for the Giants. They know it. So they're going to give you everything they have. This game here for them is almost it is a playoff game. Because if they don't win this game, I don't think they're beating Washington next week. They play Minnesota still coming up. They need 2 more wins somewhere, I think, on their schedule, and I don't see them. They have to get this game. So they're going to give you everything they got. That said, they're simply not talented enough. The only way, to me, Philadelphia would lose this game is similar to Washington. And I'm not even talking about them running the ball 40 times in the game. I'm talking about the Eagles just completely melting down and beating themselves, turning the ball over, fumbles, penalties like last week against Tennessee, and keeping the Giants in the game. I just don't think the Giants have enough talent. They can't beat you down the field. Defensively, they're just okay. Their offensive line is all right. It's not great. The one thing they do well is run the ball. The guy who worries me the most is Jones taking off and running. That would be the one guy who worries me the most, because I think the Eagles will bottle up Barkley. I think they'll do a good job there. They're not going to beat you in the pass game. Can Jones take off and get enough yards in the ground to keep them competitive? I just don't see it, man. The path to victory for the Giants are pretty narrow.
Yeah, and I agree with you. I think when you look at the talent and you go down the list, mano a mano, and I look at a Tennessee Titans team of a week ago that was much more talented, I feel, than this Giants roster. And we saw how they dismantled Tennessee.
Yeah.
And, in one perspective, it was the most complete game in terms of offense, defense, special teams. But you alluded to it, man. That penalty situation, they had 9 penalties. I think they had 5 penalties in the first 20 minutes. Every single member of that offensive line unit was flagged for a penalty. So, they didn't play their best game. In fact, you could argue they made a lot of mistakes, and they still whooped up on the Tennessee Titans. So my point being is,
the last couple of weeks, they fumbled. They had some turnovers in the Green Bay game. Green Bay didn't beat them. They had penalties in the Tennessee game. Tennessee couldn't beat them. Yep. The Eagles have had kind of a couple of weeks where they have been beatable, and teams have not figured out. Washington got them. But after the Washington games, there was a blueprint that teams said, okay, we can follow. That's the thing. People say, all right, now you're on tape. Now we have a blueprint. The good teams adjust to that. If you say, oh, I see what Washington did, let's try to do what they did. Philadelphia says, we're not letting teams do that to us again. So they've adjusted from the Washington game, still making mistakes, and teams still can't beat them. That's a sign of a really good team. And I don't think Washington, what they did is something that other teams can keep doing, because most teams are not willing. They are not willing to stick with the run the way Washington. That's what I give Washington a lot of credit that night. They stuck with something that most teams don't. Now, New York's a team that will probably stick with it, but man, here's the difference. When Washington needed a play in the past game, McLaurin, Samuels, they have a couple guys. New York just simply does not. And that's what happened to Tennessee last week. When Burks went out, they just simply didn't have a guy in the past game. And that's where I see this New York team right now.
Yeah, and I think that's where it gets dangerous for the G-men. They just lack the playmakers. Sterling Shepard, Wendell Robinson out for the year. Kenny Galladay, last time I saw him, was on back of a milk carton. When Darius Slayton is your number one weapon and complemented by Richie James and Isaiah Hodgins. And man, I think it's going to be a Bubba Sparks ugly kind of affair.
Well, and keep in mind, last week it was A.J. Brown. Remember, James Bradbury was a Giant. They didn't have the money to bring him back. So who's he matching up with this week? Because that guy's going to have a tough day.
Yeah, Isaiah Hodgins, I would imagine, but it could be Richie James.
Man, Dave Sills. Come on, man.
David Sills, the fifth.
The fifth, that's right. Man, he was a stud at West Virginia, but
yes, he was.
It has not translated.
Yeah, I missed the first 4 versions of David Sills.
Yeah.
But you make a good point, though, with the Daniel Jones, because it's been, an off-script season, like a little bit weird, right? Kyler Murray's the only kind of dual threat, quote unquote, quarterback that the Eagles have faced this year. Do you think that, and I saw Kaiser White popped up on the injury report yesterday with an ankle. Do you think they could take TJ Edwards or Kaiser White and spy Daniel Jones on Sunday?
It's interesting because I thought, the one thing that Tannehill did, he broke off and had a couple runs last week. And I feel like the Eagles were kind of okay with saying, hey, you want to get a couple 8-yard, 7-yard, 15, 11-yard runs, go for it. We're not just, they are just not going to let you go over the top, and they would not let you get the yards in the middle of the field. But if you say White has a little bit of an ankle issue, I thought Nakobe Dean, I got to be honest, and Kaiser White, West Virginia, shout out, man, but I thought Dean played awesome last week. I thought there was a play he made, and they showed the replay, and I said, who the hell is 17? Like, he hasn't played all year. I don't think anybody has saw his jersey number once, all season long, name not called one time. I said, who is 17? 2 plays in a row. He jumped off the page. I'm not saying that White should be replaced or anything, but, man, I think if you get Dean on the field somehow, holy moly, he adds another dimension, and this would be a week. Sideline to sideline guy who can kind of watch Jones. I don't know about spy so much, but make a break on him if Jones, takes off. But the Eagles play, they're not like a man-to-man defense. So if Jones takes off, much like last week with Tannehill, he might get some yards, but eventually he's going to have to make a play. And I don't know that plays in him because I don't think here's the thing. Quarterbacks need help. Daniel Jones is an average quarterback. He could be a good quarterback if he had some help. He just doesn't have it. He just doesn't have it.
Yeah, he's a manageable quarterback. You can win some ball games, but I think
he's got skill set. I like much like what the Eagles did with Hurts. They gave him weapons. If this team had some weapons, I'd like to see if Jones could perform if he had. Look, there's not A.J. Brown's all over the place. I get it. But you mentioned Galladay. What the heck happened to him? If we put together a team of the milk carton guys, like Russell Wilson, what happened to you? Kenny Galladay, what happened to you? Like, he was a beast that year in Detroit, and he has completely lost it.
Yeah, well, hey, we can definitely. I know who the GM of the all milk carton team would be. We could hire David Gettleman right now.
How about that news? Jeez.
On the opposite end of the spectrum, I think Howie Roseman again deserves some props here for all the pending free agents on the defense at the end of the season. He does have some developmental players here in the pipeline at all 3 levels of the defense. Jordan Davis up front, Nakobe Dean in the second level. You got Reed Blankenship, who's a nice looking like a young blue chip to build around in this Eagles secondary. As you know, they're not going to be able to bring back all those pending free agents. And, we only got about 10 minutes left to mess around with, Mike. So I want to wrap up some Eagles talk. I want to look at the bigger picture in a second, but I'm curious to see, and you mentioned Bradbury, who played very well 2 years with the Giants. He had 7 interceptions, 35 pass deflections, but the G-men saved $10 million by cutting him before the season. And, I think Bradbury had the quote of the week, though. They said, any emotions about facing the New York Giants this week? He said, you know what? Last time I checked, we're 11-1. I haven't had much time to think about the New York Giants.
You know what's funny? Bradbury's one of those guys that he's had a tremendous year. You're wondering, though, is this the best year you're ever going to get out of him? Because you talk about free agents, he's another one. And now we have some blue chip guys. I don't want to say blue chip, but we don't know what they are yet. But we like Jordan Davis, young player. Like Dean, what he has shown looks like he can replace somebody because both those linebackers are free agents, by the way. Bradbury's a free agent. Chauncey Gardner-Johnson's a free agent. So Bradbury would be a guy you might be getting the best year you've ever gotten out of him. I mean, I'm almost like a la Patrick Robinson when he was here in the Super Bowl year. Robinson had the best year he ever had. He signed a free agent deal with the Saints and was just not the same player. So the Eagles' decision on Bradbury is going to be interesting because that's one area where we have not seen evidence that they have a replacement.
Correct.
And this is the kind of week where he's saying, but Bradbury's a player that's had a tremendous year. We haven't met the guy yet. He doesn't say a whole bunch of a lot. He's doing his business, but he said, this is business. I know, like, okay, he has it focused. He's tunnel visioned that this is my year. I didn't get the contract I wanted last year. He took a 1-year deal for less. So he's going to be out there trying to prove to everybody. And a game like this where, he's playing his former team, he doesn't want to show that the emotions get to him. So I think he's going to have a really good day, but he's going to be a real tough decision this offseason.
Yeah, and he is very businesslike, workmanlike. I will say safety and running back, Mike, are two positions I will never overpay for. I can go find a safety, go see Reed Blankenship. I can go find a safety anytime. Finding a lockdown cornerback,
a
little bit more difficult.
I don't know who did the poll. I forget it. I wanted to give him credit, but they said the toughest position to evaluate in the draft is safety because there are so many plays on the field where they're just not doing anything. Where there's a running play and they're not a part of it, or a pass play that goes to the outside and they're not in coverage, that there's so many plays that they're just not a part of. There's so few plays, and those plays are so important that they are a part of. So it's hard to see if you run 65 plays and 50 of them you're not really a big part of. It's hard to evaluate that guy, what that guy can do. So the poll was basically saying safeties is the hardest position to draft, to evaluate, because they are not a part of so many plays. Pretty interesting.
Yeah, I don't know if I'd call it the most difficult, but it is challenging, absolutely. And we'll talk more about the NFL draft over the course of the next 139 days. But who's keeping tabs, right? Hey, let me ask you this, though. I heard a topic of conversation on the previous show, Birds 365. I'm curious to get your opinion on this because the Giants MetLife Stadium, it's still Giants Stadium to me, over the last several years, not just the Eagles fans, the Giants have let a lot of opposing fans come into MetLife Stadium and kind of take it over. Mm-hmm. Now, this is the first year I had to go back and look because I said, hey, it hasn't felt like much of a rivalry because the last time both of these teams had a winning record was 2010. And so now here we are with the Giants, a meaningful game. Do you think the Bird Gang will travel well to MetLife Stadium? Do you think it'll be 50-50? How do you see the crowd this Sunday?
I think the Eagles fans will travel. They always do. Giant Stadium's 80-some thousand seats. So even if the Eagles get a good contingent in there, the Giant fans are great fans too. So they're going to be basically filling that joint. But I do think the Eagles fans will travel. It's not going to be like when the Eagles go to Washington or when the Eagles went to L.A. When the Chargers were playing in that soccer stadium and took that place over, or when they went down to Miami. Not going to be to that extreme. Giant fans are great, man. I love this week. Look, I'm Eagles-Giants week. Eagles-Dallas is like a Hallmark a holiday. It's a made-up thing. Eagles-Giants should be the number one. Right? The Giant fans, I'll give them this. They at least know what their zip code is, right? They know where they're from. They know who to support. The Dallas fans can't figure out their zip code. They're all over the place. You're 2,500 miles from where your team is. The Giant fans, I give them that respect. They're from there. They have civic pride. Sports is about civic pride, and the Giant fans have it. That's why Eagles-Giants is my favorite week. And guess what? If the Giants beat the Eagles this week, this would be a horrific loss for Philadelphia. Horrific. Philadelphia needs this game if they want that number 1 seed. They can afford to lose one more game, but it can't be this one.
No, you're right about that. And I do want to get a prediction from you, but quickly, Boston Scott, do the Eagles put a design package, a expanded game plan in the playbook for Boston Scott this week? Are you going out of your way to get him some touches?
Hey, he's been awesome against the Giants. 3 touchdown games. I mean, he's been a Giant killer, if you will. I like Boston Scott, man. I think they need to get him more involved just in general. Does he get some dude? Miles Sanders had no touchdowns a couple of years ago. He's got 9 this year. He's been having an unbelievable year. Remember, he's a free agent too. He may have priced himself out of a lot of places. Who wants to pay? You said I'm not putting money in the running back. Miles Sanders is going to be an interesting story this offseason. But yeah, I like Philadelphia in the game, and quite frankly, I think it's going to be a grimy game and one of those games where grimy. That's my man Andrew DeCecco who threw that at me. I like that word.
Where'd you find that guy, by the way? I like that kid.
Yeah, Andrew's the man. But I like Philadelphia. I think it's an ugly type of game because the Giants will run it and give you some drives, but I just don't see them converting. A lot of threes for the Giants. I got 24-9, 24-12, something like that. So
Talking
not
Mike
most
Gill.
aesthetically pleasing game on Sunday.
Yeah, I have it even greater than that. I'll save my score prediction for after the break. We're going to get into some NFL pick'em, but we're talking to Mike Gill, 97.3, the Sports Bash. Of course, football at 4. Yesterday was football at 5 with Andrew DeCecco. Great stuff. Any remotes coming up here this week? I know you're at the Ocean Casino.
Every Monday I'm at Ocean. Every Monday I'm at Ocean Casino, and every Thursday I'm at Chickies and Pete's at the Tropicana. And one Thursday, which will actually be this Thursday coming up, at the EHT Chickies and Pete's. So I'm always bouncing around. Yeah, out and about 2 to 6 weekdays. You can get the app and listen. If you like what you're hearing right now, you can get the app and download it. And I'll be on 2 to 6 today. What's today? Friday. Sal Powell will be on. Adam Kaplan, football at 4 today.
Yeah, you got a lot of love in the chat room here. By the way, Mike Gill nominated once again for Broadcaster of the Year. Can we do something? How does that voting work, Mike? Can we?
I have no idea. I don't know how I got nominated. I don't know who votes, but it's nice to be mentioned.
Well, we need to find out, and we can, take matters into our own hands here.
Right. I don't know that it is listeners or whoever that votes. I think it is people in the industry.
Okay, fair enough. Well, tell them to call me. I deserve a vote. Real quickly here before we get you out, let me pick your brains. You said, hey, it would be a hell of a victory for the Giants. How about the Minnesota Vikings are underdogs going into Detroit this week? What do you make of that?
Minnesota has been a hot topic of conversation on the show, where they should rank. There, to me, I have them about 8 or 9 on my power rankings here. Detroit's on the come right now. This team has been hot. They are way improved. The one thing about Minnesota, I think their defense lacks. That's the problem for me, is the defense. And they got a tough matchup with this Detroit offense. Do I think that they should be an underdog at 10-2? A little bit of a slap, but I don't hate it, man. I don't hate it. I just don't love Minnesota. The quarterback's not playing great. I mean, he has not played. He has been a weird topic of conversation through the years because his numbers have always been great, but his QBR not great this year. He's just played okay. I don't have a problem. If I'm Minnesota, I would feel disrespected and use that because look, I saw this thing. Did you see this the other day? The what if standings, if one possession in each game was flipped.
Oh yeah, the Vikings would probably be below 500, right?
1-11. 1-11, and they would be on an 11-game losing streak. Now, Philadelphia would be 6-6 in one possession games. If it was one possession games, what if those one possession games they lost? Minnesota would be 1-11. So I like Detroit this week. I actually like Detroit.
It's just so weird that a playoff team is an underdog to a 5-win team.
Yeah, but you know what? This is like a whole nother show, man, which is your record does not mean that you're better than somebody else. Like, I'll take the Bengals at 8-4 over a lot of teams. Just because your record's 10-2, I'll take Cincinnati. You can have Minnesota at 10-2 and say, well, they're 10-2. That's great for them, but I'll take Cincinnati. There are variables at why teams are what they are. It's not Bill Parcells anymore. Your record is what you said. It is what you said it is in terms of seeding, but that's not for ceiling. And the Bengals ceiling 8-4, I'll take that over. By the way, Kansas City 9-3. You're not going to take them over Minnesota?
Oh, no, I agree with you. I know we got to go, but one more in the NFC because a lot of people view them as, contenders. Tampa Bay, 6-6, traveling into San Francisco, 8-4, the Brock Purdy-led 49ers. Are you ready to throw dirt on the grave of San Francisco, or are you giving him a fighter's shot here?
I will give him a shot. Brock Purdy, watched him for 4 years at Iowa State. Man, I watch him have some big games. I think he's smart. I think he can read. I think they have a good offense for his style of play. Is he a long-term answer? No. But I think they have a good, smart offense. I thought he looked really impressive. Now, I'm not going to go off and say, based on what I saw in one game, I'm sold on him, but I'm not putting the dirt on their grave yet. Why? Their defense, man. Their defense is outstanding, and I think Shanahan's smart enough to design short, quick stuff, and they have the personnel for short, quick stuff. Some teams, if you're going short and quick, it's because you don't have the opportunity to go down the field. But I can get the ball to Deebo Samuel in space, short space. McCaffrey, get him some more touches. Brandon Ayuk, get him some. Kittle's got to get a part of this thing, man. Can I get George Kittle into the offense, please? Purdy is the right guy to get him involved. So I like San Francisco still. I had him as a Super Bowl team before. Now I have him as possibly a one and done in the playoffs, but a pain in the ass to play. No, they're going to get probably the 3 seed still, and they get matched up with New York or Washington or Seattle, one of those teams.
Yeah, I think, the 49ers, because of their defense, and the Commanders, I'll throw in the equation, come playoff time, if they get in, that's going to be a tough out. Then nobody's going to want to face those two teams. That's for sure.
Yeah.
Hey, Mike, I know you got your own show ready to get ready for. You're in studio already, 2 to 6, the Sports Bash over there, 97.3. I know you got Sal Powell coming up today. Anything else we can tease for our listening audience? What do you got?
Yeah, we got Football 4. Adam Kaplan, always great. Right when the injuries come out, he pops on, and then Casey Joyner from The Athletic gives us one thought on every game we go through, and he gives us boom, 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 kind of a NFL PTI style. There you go.
Good stuff. Always appreciate the time, Mike. Buckle up.
All right, guys. See ya.
All right. Mike Gill, 97.3. Tune in later today, 2 to 6. Broadcaster of the Year nominee. We're so lucky to chop it up, talk some football with Mike, and definitely gives us an alternate perspective. And we're going to take a quick commercial break. This is the 69th edition of the Football Playbook with your boy RIC and the police to be, Ric Serritella. Telling it like it is when it comes to your Philadelphia Eagles, the National Football League, college football landscape, NFL draft. I see you guys firing up the names. I'll tell you what, we'll come back. We can go in whatever direction you want. Go around the league, NFL Pick'em, NFL Draft. Jason Garrett, by the way, a finalist for the Stanford head coaching job. We'll talk about that. Hit the like button while you're here, and we'll come back for the second hour of power here on the Football Playbook.
Go for the beers. Go for the cheers. Go for the hit and the hits. Go for the scene. Go for the screens. Go for the gallery. Go for the win. Go to Ocean.
The greatest fans on earth. It's a bold statement, but would you expect anything less from Philadelphia? 58 years of heartache creates a toughness, a grit, a resolve not found in most. Sure, our prayers were answered, but now that we've had a taste, we're looking for more. Pondley Hockey, official partner of the Philadelphia Eagles.
Go passionately. Go fearlessly. Go confidently.
Go Birds!
Go confidently towards your goals with First Trust, Philly's hometown bank for nearly 90 years, and the official bank of the Philadelphia Eagles. We're focused on getting you over the goal line. So go with conviction, Go with trust.
Go Birds!
And go forward with us by your side. First Trust Bank, the official bank of Philadelphia Dreams. Up and go Birds.
Did you know taxes could be your biggest expense during retirement? Are most of your assets in tax-deferred accounts like IRAs and 401ks? Taxes are historically low today, but we're facing significant headwinds in the future. Do you have a plan? The Thrive Financial team has more than 100 years of experience helping people across the Delaware Valley with forward-looking tax planning. Learn how to shift your money from forever tax to no or low tax accounts. Get your Thrive Retirement Tax Playbook today.
Back at it again. It's the Football Playbook for RIC and the place to be. Ric Serritella telling it like it is. When it comes to the Philadelphia Eagles, real talk. NFL, real talk. College football, real talk. NFL draft, real talk. Hey, big shout out to Mike Gill joining us here on the Football Playbook. 69th edition. Going into the weekend on number 69. Hey, somebody's looking out for you guys over here. It's all brought to you by Ocean Casino Resorts. Hey, an hour of power down, an hour of power to go. That means it's time for the roll call. I see my guy Justin Serrato up in here. Yes, smash that like button. Ocam's Razor, William Stark, Sean S., where you at? The front, the back, all my chat room people, Kevin Savard, David Baglivo, all the chat room people. Hey, Adams Exploits. I saw you with the butter conversation, man. Baby. Mike Gill likes to leave his butter out on the counter. He says you could do it for up to 3 months. I'm telling you, man. Apparently, 20% of people out there do this kind of thing. I don't know. Last time I left the butter out overnight, I woke up the next morning, there's like a film on the butter. Like, I don't know. And I saw somebody say, yeah, I mean, I guess I would consider me a city boy. Is that what they do in the country? They leave the butter out on the table full time? Buckle up. I didn't know it was that kind of party. So always a good time talking football with Mike. We do have the Eagles and Giants. Eagles lead the all-time series. I hope so, William Stark. 87-85. The two teams have tied twice. And, I heard some of you guys out there dropping some draft prospects. And, man, I can't wait over the course of the next 139 days to talk about it here with you. Somebody asked if I have an opinion on Joey Porter Jr. Yes. And ironically enough, that question came up when we were talking about James Bradberry, who I would say Joey Porter Jr. is a very similar player to James Bradberry. I would say with the upside and potential to be even better because they have an identical frame. They're both like 6'2", right around 200 pounds. Joey Porter maybe in the 190 range, but he surely will be over 200 once he gets into the NFL strength and conditioning weight room regimen. But I'll tell you what, I went up to Happy Valley in training camp, and I could not take my eyes off of Joey Porter Jr. He is a specimen. And for my money, he's the number one cornerback in this year's draft. I would have no problem whatsoever using a top 10 pick on Joey Porter Jr. All good with me. And if you don't re-sign James Bradbury, well, that's a heck of a good replacement to plug in. Heck of a good replacement. Sean S. Yeah, Kaylee Ringo, another good prospect. Yep. Those two guys are probably right now at the top of the draft board. Cam Smith, I saw you guys throw his name out there from South Carolina as well. This Devin Witherspoon from Illinois, he's another one to keep an eye on. He's playing really good football. He got a Senior Bowl invite. I think Witherspoon could sneak into the first round. Remember, the Eagles have two first-round picks. And I'll tell you, Miles Murphy could be a draft target, absolutely. And he could play inside, he could play outside, he could kind of bide his time for a year or two until they figure out. David Baglivo wants to know, would Howie trade back? I think Howie Roseman's always working the phone lines. He's always looking to accumulate draft equity, and I think a lot of that will depend upon where they pick, who's on the board when they pick, how many teams in front of them need a quarterback when they pick. So I don't know. I mean, we won't know until we get down to draft day, probably. I will say this. A running back in the third round that you will like, JM, is Zach Charbonnet out of UCLA. He's a big, physical, bruising back. The kid Brown out of Illinois would be another good one. I saw Devin Achane from Texas A&M declared yesterday. He's another one. I like this kid, this kid out of Kansas State, Darren Sproles alumni, that kid Deuce Vaughn. I mean, he's literally a Darren Sproles clone. Pretty good player. One of my favorites. The kid from Syracuse, Sean Tucker, he didn't quite exactly have the season we thought he would, but he's a former track phenomenon. And he's got these big, powerful, bruising thighs. Like Saquon has those thighs. Sean Tucker, he's got those thighs that catches our scouts' eyes, So I'll tell you one thing, though. This quarterback class is shaping up once again to be lackluster at best. And word on the street is Bryce Young still intends to declare as of today. But, man, I'll tell you, with that NIL money, a lot can change over the next month. The underclassmen deadline is usually around mid-January. I think it was January 17th last year. It's usually right around January 15th, give or take a day or two. Hey, William Stark, we don't throw the Earl Campbell comparison out there too much, okay? Not too many guys like Earl Campbell. This Bijan Robinson out of Texas is a good one, though. I'd put him in the same echelon and category like a Zeke Elliott or a Saquon Barkley, but I don't see Howie Roseman drafting a running back in the first round. So he's a pretty good one, though. In terms of quarterbacks, here's the dilemma. You're going to have a handful of teams picking in front of you that need a quarterback. You'll probably have a handful of teams behind you trying or looking to trade up for a quarterback. The problem is there's just not too many good quarterbacks. Not any that you want to draft in the first round. Yeah, Earl Campbell is, I'd say Jim Brown probably was the toughest running back to tackle. But Earl Campbell, Walter Payton, O.J. Simpson, I'd probably put right up there with Jim Brown. Those are the best who ever did it, in my opinion. Jim Brown, Earl Campbell, O.J. Simpson. Sweetness. Emmitt Smith was an accumulator. And Emmitt Smith ran 5 yards before he even got touched. I mean, that Dallas Cowboys offensive line, I think, is probably the greatest offensive line I've seen. And CJ Stroud, it looks like, he's going to be somebody's quarterback. Dank Burrito, Barry Sanders. He was good. He's a different kind of runner. To me, he was on a bad team. And the one or two times that the Lions did get in, Barry didn't have a great playoff game. And I think, you always said if you put Barry Sanders, if you swapped Emmitt Smith and Barry Sanders, like, could you imagine the career Barry Sanders would have had behind that offensive line? So, yes, I'll give you Barry Sanders, I think, was better than Emmitt Smith. I don't put him – he's one of the best to ever do it. It's just he's such a different style than those other guys. I mean, Jim Brown was elusive. Jim Brown could run around you, but he could also run through you and over you. So could Earl. Earl Campbell was a beast. Danny D, we're talking about that now. Like, I think it depends on who's there when the Eagles get there. A lot of teams, look at all the mediocre quarterback play. A lot of teams are looking for quarterbacks. A lot of teams are willing to trade up for a quarterback. But outside of CJ Stroud and Bryce Young, I just don't see it. I don't see the quarterback in this year's draft like a lot of guys like Anthony Richardson. Well, they're all projections at the end of the day, but that's one hell of a projection, man. I mean, this guy has started maybe 10 games in his career. I get it. The traits, the size, the athleticism, it's rare. It's rare. And you see Anthony Richardson make plays that you say, wow, only a handful of people walking the planet could do that. Then you see Anthony Richardson make a lot of plays that I can make, which aren't too good. So DJ Ugalele went back to school and entered the transfer portal. Caden Slovis went back to school and is entering the transfer portal. Phil Jerkovic is going from Boston College to take Caden Slovis's job in Pittsburgh. There's really not a lot of quarterbacks. Michael Penix, who I liked a lot coming out of Washington, he's going back to school. And I'll tell you what, there's a lot of teams, not just some. There's a lot of teams, from my understanding, that have Will Levis from Kentucky ahead of Bryce Young. Say what you want about it. Again, teams are looking for traits. Teams are looking to identify traits. And Will Levis is going to go, whoa, very, very high. And we thought Mike Gill had some problems with butter on the counter. Will Levis puts mayonnaise in his coffee. My man eats oranges with the peels on them. He's a strange bird, that Will Levis. Hendon Hooker's another name out there, but I think he has that ACL injury. That's a 1 or 2 year rehab process. He's already 25 years old. I mean, it might be, Hendon Hooker, he might be 27 by the time he's ready to take a snap under center. So I don't think he goes in round 1. But to answer your question, Adam Exploits, yes, I think Stroud and Bryce Young are top 10 locks. I think Will Levis might even find himself in the top 10. Bo Jackson's a good one. Bo Jackson, you put into the Gale Sayers category because that hip injury. I mean, And he split time with Marcus Allen. So his stats between splitting time with Marcus Allen and playing baseball, Bo Jackson didn't have the gaudy stats, but he might have been the best ever if he had stayed healthy. He was trending in that direction. But I think Bo, Gale Sayers, I was trying to get on the show. Gale Sayers, Bo Jackson, I'd put Terrell Davis in that category. Pretty good ones. Yeah, Bo. Yeah. We had a lot of dual sport athletes back in the day. Bo Jackson, Deion Sanders, Brian Jordan was another one from the Falcons. Remember him? These guys today, these players today, I swear they think they're the best thing since sliced bread. No, we had some pretty good athletes back in the day. Believe me. All right. I do want to sneak in some NFL pick'em. Let me wrap up though with Adrian Peterson's up there for you, Dank. I'd say the first half of Adrian Peterson's career, I think he, the wear and tear. I mean, the last 5 years of Adrian Peterson were kind of mediocre, but when he was in his prime, Adrian Peterson, man, I'll tell you what, the 3 best running backs I've ever scouted over the last 21 years coming out of college, I'd say Reggie Bush was one. And I'd have to say either Adrian Peterson or Darren McFadden coming out of Arkansas. Those are the best looking running backs I've ever seen. McFadden didn't quite pan out. Reggie Bush, it was impossible to live up to the hype. And Adrian Peterson, yeah, I think he has a legitimate Hall of Fame candidacy. I think he's had enough all-pro seasons to get heavy consideration, I do want to wrap up some of the injury news and notes on the Giants side because I gave you the Eagles infirmary report. Let me hit you with the Giants. Breaking, Adrian Peterson, first ballot lock, easy? I don't know about that. I don't know about that. Adrian Peterson might have to wait. And I don't put a lot of stock into first ballot. I know that's a big deal to folks, but I don't know about that. I'd have to pop up Adrian Peterson's numbers. But I gave you the Eagles infirmary report. I will give you the Giants injury report. Let me pop up Adrian Peterson real quick and settle this debate. Adrian Peterson, okay, his first 8 seasons, right? 13, to me, if you have 7 quote unquote Hall of Fame seasons, I think you get in, right? Terrell Davis, Gale Sayers, they had less than that. So look, Adrian Peterson, 1341 and 12 rushing touchdowns as a rookie. Year 2, 1760, led the league, 10 touchdowns. That's a Hall of Fame season. 1383, 18 touchdowns. That's a Hall of Fame season. 1298, 12 touchdowns. That's a Hall of Fame season. So his first 4 years were Hall of Fame seasons. And then he goes down, he dips down, he gets hurt, 970, 12 touchdowns. Then you forget. He had that 2,000-yard rushing season, right? And 12 touchdowns. So that's a Hall of Fame season. 5. Then he had 1266 for 10. That's a Hall of Fame season. 6. Then at the age of 30, he ran for 1485 with 11 touchdowns. That's a 7th Hall of Fame caliber season. So, yeah, I do think Adrian Peterson gets in. But look at this, guys. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 seasons a very mediocre play. That's what kind of tarnishes, like maybe not first ballot, because 6 seasons is a long time. 31 years old, he ran for 529 yards. The next year, 1,042, not bad. The next year, 898. The next year, 604. His last year, 98 rushing yards. So, no, I get it. I think he's a Hall of Famer. I do. Sometimes when they're so recent, like he was just in the league a year ago. So sometimes you got to go and look back. But yeah, Adrian Peterson's Hall of Fame. Brian Dayball just said Saquon Barkley might not play Sunday. You better run down to the Ocean Casino Resorts and get that action in. I told you, Barkley popped up. He was limited in practice with the neck. Darnay Holmes was limited with a shoulder. He's their slot corner. Richie James, who's their kick and punt returner, was limited with a knee. He's also their number 2 wideout. Nick McLeod was limited with the hamstring. Xavier McKinney, we know, is out from that off-road incident. And then I don't think any of these guys are playing. They all missed practice yesterday. Josh Azudu, the starting guard, he has a neck injury. Adoree Jackson, their starting number 1 corner, has a knee injury. Shane Lemieux, one of their key offensive linemen, has a toe injury. He did not practice. Leonard Williams did not practice yesterday. I mean, and I thought I saw Dexter Lawrence was a little banged up too. And he played 77 snaps last week against Washington. Dexter Lawrence did. So I'll tell you what, this Giants team is all banged up, which is why you're going to like my prediction after the commercial break. We're going to go around the league, get the NFL pick'ems in. One last note I have here in case you are interested. I think it was ESPN. Yes, Avonte Maddox returned to practice this week. He was waiting to see how he felt reacting from yesterday. Wednesday was a walkthrough. We're just waiting to see how Avonte Maddox is feeling today. But all indications are Avonte Maddox and Quez Watkins look like they're expected to play. Maddox says he felt good. Not up to him. Yeah, these neck injuries, I don't know what the heck it is, Jeff. It's weird. 5-star FSG, happy Friday. Thanks for joining us. You're right on time because when we come back, it's the best handicapper in the world. Yeah, I said it. We are, after last night, 111 wins, 85 losses against the spread. We're not just picking winners over here. No, this is against the spread. And yeah, I just said Avonte Maddox is scheduled to be playing Adams Exploits. Maddox and Quez Watkins expected to play. I'll tell you what, the first game I'm going to preview when we come back after the commercial break is going to be the Eagles at the New York Football Giants. I think you're going to like it. Smash that like button. We're going to take a quick break. It's all brought to you by Ocean Casino Resorts, your home for the Pond Lehocky Eagles pre- and post game this Sunday. Buckle up. We'll be back in 2 minutes. Tony, you with me? We're going to break? Yes, no, maybe so. Well, we could keep it here. Buckle up. All right. Hey, we'll keep it here, Tone. Let me know if you want to take a break. Otherwise, hey, we'll get right into it. We'll do our NFL pick'em, reset, the football playbook with your boy RIC. In the place to be, Ric Serritella, Town It Like It Is. No breaks, all gas, David. That's what it is here in the football playbook. Part 69 edition. We will have our 70th show on Monday. The great Howard Balzer will check in. Philadelphia native. You got the Arizona Cardinals on Monday Night Football against the New England Patriots Monday. So we'll check in with Howard Balzer. But hey, it's looking like it's that time of the week for the Week 14 NFL Pick'em in the league. where they play for pay. All right, buckle up. We are on the season after last night's victory. I told you I couldn't get behind the Las Vegas Raiders. I can't do it, won't do it, can't win with it. I told you we don't need the stinking points. Take the Rams to win. It came down to a Baker Mayfield miracle at the last second. The Rams get the W, 17-16 last night. So that puts me at 111 victories and 85 losses on the season. And guess what? Last week we were 7-8. So the last 3 or 4 weeks, we haven't had a big winning record. Like we had some big weeks early on in the season. The last couple of weeks we've been hanging out around 500. So it's time to get back in the win column. It's time to get past, we've been stuck on 25 games above 500 here for the last couple of weeks, it feels like now. Last week, the best bets, little shaky, 7-6, but have no fear, my friends, because I have yet to pick the Philadelphia Eagles as my best bet lock of the week. And we're in week number 14. But I'm going to buck that trend right here, right now on today's program, because I'm telling you guys, you just heard the list of injury reports I rattled off before just a few minutes ago. Now, Saquon Barkley might not play. Now, that 7 points, okay, I have it here at 7, could be going up. Could be going up. I tell you what, I would lay the Cowboys line this week is the biggest point spread of the season of any NFL game, and I would lay the 18. I just don't think – did you see the faces – when we had the Giants beat writers on this week, and I asked, do you think the Giants can win? Did you see the look? No. They don't think there's any shot in hell. And I agree, because it's just the talent doesn't match up. And it was Saquon Barkley and a bunch of dudes. Now it might be what? Who's the backup? Matt Breida? I mean, this has got catastrophe all over it. I think Daniel Jones turns the ball over. He'll be good for at least one fumble, one interception. I think the Eagles are going to apply pressure. I think Jones is going to fold like a cheap suit. I think this game's going to be over at halftime. And, yeah, you might see another Gardner Minshew sighting in the fourth quarter. I've got this game. I don't even have the Giants in the same time zone. I've got the Eagles winning 38-10. And I think I'm being generous with the 10 because without Saquon, the Giants might not score any touchdowns come Sunday. But put it in the books. It's my best bet. Lock of the week. Lock them up, Richard Rosania. Lock them up. The Eagles is one of those 3-team parlays that you're looking for. Woo! All right, here we go. Game number 2. We're going to go over to the NFC, okay? Let's keep it in the NFC. Dallas, I just mentioned, the biggest point spread of the season. They're given 18 points. The Houston Texans in this Texas-sized battle, okay, 1-10-1. They are headed for the number 1 pick. It appears, those Houston Texans. They will turn back to Davis Mills this week. The Kyle Allen experiment didn't work out so great. So back to Davis Mills. And you know what? This Dallas Cowboys, you saw them last week. They just went off in the fourth quarter. They're probably going to go off in the first half against the Texans. The Cowboys might actually get to play their backups this week. And Ezekiel Elliott is going to become just the 5th player in NFL history. If he scores a touchdown this week, just the 5th player all time in NFL history with 8 touchdowns in his first 7 NFL careers. So, hey, don't look right now. Ezekiel Elliott maybe building that Hall of Fame resume, okay? I will take Dallas. I will lay the 18 points. The NFC East wins big in a big way this week. Washington, of course, on the bye week. But Philly and Dallas, I like them in big, big ways. Dallas, I think, is going to cover the 18. Houston's going to have trouble to put points on the board. Give me the Cowboys minus the 18. All right. Detroit, 5-7, getting Jamison Williams. They're one of their first-round picks back this week. Taking on the 10-2 Minnesota Vikings, who, with a win, would clinch. By the way, the Eagles will also clinch with a victory on Sunday. Or a 49ers and Vikings loss, even if the Eagles lose to the G-Men, if the Vikings and 49ers also lose, the Eagles would clinch. If the Vikings win, they will clinch. Hey, 10-2, getting 2 points against the 5-7 team. I don't know. Kirk Cousins is going for his 4th game win in a row over Detroit, but Jared Goff is going to have something to say about it. He had 340 passing yards last week. Unbelievable. I'll tell you what, this is going to be a coin toss game. A lot of fireworks. Justin Jefferson has got damn near 1,300 receiving yards. I think the Vikings are going to pull this one out. They've been in a lot of close games. Our friend Mike Gill told us almost every game has come down to one possession. I think the Vikings and Lions are going to come down to whoever has the ball last. Give me the Vikings. Don't feel great about it, but man, at 10-2, I got to roll with the Vikings after doubting them so much. If they lose to Detroit, they really are Fugazi. I don't bet on Kirk Cousins often. When I do, I prefer Dos Equis. All right, Tampa Bay getting 3.5, traveling into San Francisco. The Bucs looking to get above 500. They're at 6-6. The 49ers are going to get in at 8-4. They would really have to have a debacle. I mean, they would have to lose every game of the rest of the way to not make the playoffs. Now, this defense is really good. Nick Bosa is just the 3rd player in NFL history to have back-to-back 15-sack seasons under the age of 25. This guy, he doesn't get a lot of media recognition because he's out there on the West Coast buried. But, man, this Nick Bosa is doing things. The only other guys to have back-to-back 15-sack seasons at that young of an age are Richard Dent and Andre Tippett. Both of those guys are in the Hall of Fame. I'll tell you what, I'm going to give one more lifeline to Tampa Bay. I'm going to go with the Bucs, and this is the last time I'm going to put any kind of faith in Tampa Bay. They needed a lot of help to eke out the win over the Saints. They have a lot of trouble winning games against poor opponents. The 49ers are a quality opponent. I'm going to give them the benefit of the doubt one last time, but this is the final time. Give me the 3.5 going into San Francisco. I'll take the Bucs, and just for the record, I have the Bucs to win this game. Okay, last one for the NFC. Carolina, 4-8, going into Seattle, 7-5. The Seahawks are favored by 3.5. It was the Sam Darnold show last week. $164, 2 touchdowns. He played so good that the team cut Baker Mayfield. But Geno Smith had a career high last week, 367 with 3 touchdowns. And the Seahawks are looking to lock up or hold on to that final playoff spot. They passed Washington last week, who's on the bye, preparing for the G-Men. I think the Seahawks win this game. I think they cover it pretty easily, the 3.5, that is. Carolina will keep it competitive, but man, they're a 4-win team going up against a playoff team, traveling across the country. Hey, Richard Rosanna, put the Seahawks in your 3-team teaser or your 3-team parlay, the Eagles being one of them and the Seahawks being the other. I got one more coming at you as we turn the page over to the AFC. And so let's take a look at this AFC picture here. I told you I like the Kansas City Chiefs and the Cincinnati Bengals. I think these are the 2 teams that I'm eyeing in terms of Super Bowl contenders. The Buffalo Bills, not so much. and I'm going to put Buffalo on the upset alert watch this week. Now they're laying 10 points. The 9-3 Buffalo Bills are against their division rival, New York Jets, who are sitting at 7-5. Look, Mike White, he had 369 last week. He had 315 the week before. This Bam Knight out of NC State has come on like a gangbuster. He had 118 scrimmage yards last week. Suddenly they have a running back. Sauce Gardner leads all rookies with 15 pass deflections. You guys see where I'm going here? Hey, listen, Josh Allen's a great quarterback. There's no doubt about it. 3,400 passing yards, 25 touchdowns. Hey, look at this column, though. 11 interceptions. That's one per game. I told you earlier he's not the brightest bulb. That's what's going to cost Buffalo in this game. Even with Stephon Diggs, his 1,200 receiving yards, his 10 touchdowns. Heck, give me the 10 points, and I wouldn't count the Jets out from winning this game. And don't look now. I think the Bills have to play the Dolphins one more time. And if they lose this game to the Jets, the Bills might go into the playoffs as a 5 or 6 seed. Remember, you heard it here first. RIC speaks the truth. Give me the Jets plus 10. Jody Mack will be very happy about that. All right. Staying in the AFC, this game was flexed to the Sunday Night Football. They were debating, should it be the Eagles-Giants? Should it be the Dolphins-Chargers? We get the Dolphins-Chargers on primetime, Sunday night affair. Man, this Tyreek Hill, what a superstar. 9 catches, a $146 last week, another touchdown. I mean, this guy, he should be, quite frankly, in the MVP consideration if the Dolphins can string some wins together. Tyreek Hill has 6 games this year with over 125 receiving yards. That's pretty impressive. I know Jalen Waddle has like at least 65 receiving yards over his last 7 or 8 games. It's a hell of a 1-2 combination. Justin Herbert is going for his 20th career 300-yard passing game. Pretty good for his young career. I like the Dolphins here, laying 3.5. Miami's 8-4. They're looking to bounce back off of that loss. Hey, they're going cross country again. I wonder if they flew back and forth. They were in San Fran last week. They're in LA this week. Not an easy task, but I'm going to take the Dolphins here, minus the 3.5. The Chargers, it's just hard for me to come around on that team. It's just hard for me to put a whole lot of stock. Now, I don't feel great about the Dolphins, but I do think they get the job done against the Chargers. Lay to 3.5 on the road this week. I think they get it right and get it tight. All right. Baltimore, man, it feels like they're trying to save their season. At 8-4, this might be the worst 8-4 team in the NFL. It's one of the worst 8-4 teams I've seen in quite some time. But hey, Tyler Huntley to the rescue last week. 27 of 32. Very efficient. 187 passing yards, 41 rushing yards, a game-winning touchdown. Hey, Tyler Huntley giving them something to think about in Baltimore. I'll tell you what, though. I don't know if Lamar Jackson is playing or not. I don't know what his latest status is. I like the Pittsburgh Steelers. Getting the 2 points at home. Pittsburgh's 5-7. They've been stringing together some victories lately. Kenny Pickett, the Jersey Shore gunslinger, is playing better. I actually like the Steelers to win this game, so I'll gladly take the 2 points, but I got the Steelers winning outright in this affair. Okay. Cleveland, 5-7. Getting 5.5 against the Bengals, 8-4. Woo! This is a candidate for the 3-team parlay. I'll tell you what, I like the Bengals to win in a big fashion here. Deshaun Watson was working off the rust against his former team last week. And the Texans, he finished 12 of 22. Not so great. 131 passing yards. Meanwhile, Joey Burrow has catapulted to the front of the MVP line. 286 last week. 2 more touchdowns. You know, he has 5 rushing touchdowns, 46 rushing yards last week coming off of those ACL and MCL injuries, there's not much that Joe Burr can't do. It's that time of the year. Give me Joey Burr, lay the 5.5, and I think the Bengals are one of the best bets of the week. All right, the Jacksonville Jaguars, 4-8. Heading into the Tennessee Titans, 7-5. Tennessee favored by 4, coming off that embarrassing loss against yours truly, the Philadelphia Eagles. Now, Trevor Lawrence is suddenly playing some solid football. He has not thrown an interception in his last 4 games. And, the Jaguars, they got criticized a little bit in the offseason for the money they were throwing around. They said, why are you giving Christian Kirk and Zay Jones all this money? Well, turned out to be pretty good signings. Christian Kirk has 13 touchdowns, believe it or not. Zay Jones is going to go over 600 yards receiving this week. The Jaguars are playing good ball, but Tennessee fired their GM this week. They sent the message. They're going to be pissed. They're in the playoff hunt at 7-5. They're at home. Tennessee needs this game in a bad way. And I think the Titans are going to cover the 4 points, come back, bounce back from a week ago. I don't consider to sorry, I was getting an Odell Beckham Jr. update with Saquon Barkley and the same thing. Oh, where was it? I don't consider the Titans a contender, but I do consider them a favorite this week. Lay the 4 points against Jacksonville. It's all good, baby. All right. Last game in the AFC. Richard Rosania, if you're still here, okay, this is the third part of your 3-team parlay. So you got the Eagles, you got the Seahawks, and you could go with the Bengals. Wouldn't be mad at you. I just think the Kansas City Chiefs, I think there's going to be a lot of blowouts this week, and the Kansas City Chiefs are going to be another one of them. Listen, they're going into Denver. The Broncos are 3-9. This team struggles to score points, right? And I think the last thing that Russell Wilson wants to do with the way his season has been going is getting to a shootout with the one Patrick Mahomes. And, Patrick Mahomes, he's going to go over 4,000 yards this game. And that's going to be the fifth year out of 6 seasons. Only Peyton Manning has done that. So, again, as we go through these games, I just pointed out a handful of guys also early in their career, but building that Hall of Fame candidacy. I mean, Patrick Mahomes, first 6 seasons in the league, as good as any quarterback I've ever seen enter the league, quite frankly. So, hey, Travis Kelce, we mentioned him. How about this? 32 yards will give Kelce another 1,000-yard season. That'll be his 7th 1,000-yard season. And if I'm reading this correctly, I could have swore Antonio Gates would have had this, but it says here Tony Gonzalez will be the first tight end in NFL history with 7 seasons of 1,000 yards. And he's the 5th tight end with 10,000 yards. The only other tight ends in history, Tony Gonzalez, Jason Witten, Shannon Sharp, and Antonio Gates. Was Antonio Gates inducted to the Hall of Fame? I don't remember that one. Tony Gonzalez was a few years back. Shannon Sharp certainly was. He had a great speech. Jason Witten, that's another one where I'm just on the fence. Like, to me, Jason Witten was never the best tight end in the NFL. He was just an accumulation guy to me. Kelsey's a Hall of Famer. Tony Gonzalez is a Hall of Famer. Shannon Sharp is a Hall of Famer. I would imagine Antonio Gates is in the Hall of Fame. I just don't remember the induction ceremony for him. And Jason Witten, I don't know. I know he's doing some things with the Army-Navy game this week with Brian Dawkins. Army's getting 2.5. The over-under is 33.5. I like Army in the under for whatever that's worth. I got to find out now. Antonio Gates, Hall of Fame? Oh, he's not eligible yet. That's why. Huh. Okay, so Antonio Gates will become eligible in 2023. That's next year. Okay. Yeah, to me, Gates is a Hall of Famer. So the Chiefs, they got 2 potential future Hall of Fame selections. So, hey, we did it. We got it in. That is your NFL Week 14 NFL Pick'em with your boy, RIC. Hopefully, we have a good, solid week here. To me, the games that stand out, though, Philly Dilly is my best bet. I also like the Seahawks. I think the Chiefs are a solid play. And I also like the Cincinnati Bengals. I think those are the 4 games that should be the easiest to determine. But, hey, that's why they play the games, right? Any given Sunday. Jason Witten, real quick, just for argument's sake, let me just pull up his stats here because I don't remember like Jason Witten being this all-time great. But he did have a stretch here. See, like Jason Witten, holy cow, he played 17 years. In 17 years, the guy only had 1,000 yards receiving 4 times. I get it. It's a tight end. But we just said Travis Kelce did it 7 times. And he played probably half the amount of seasons. So, like, that's the thing with the Hall of Fame. You can't put a guy like Jason Witten next to a guy like Travis Kelce or Tony Gonzalez. He just wasn't dominant. Jason Witten was very good for a long time. He just was never dominant. Now, you could say from, there's a stretch here from 2004 to 2014. He had at least 700 receiving yards every single year, but that's not Hall of Fame. That's not a Hall of Fame resume. It's not a Hall of Fame candidacy. You know what I'm saying? So, Jason Witten, I think, is close, but no cigar. Okay. Hey, OBJ is changing his tune now. Paul Mancini says, yeah, I saw some kind of update here with OBJ comments, and he said something to Saquon Barkley. Hey, David, thank you for that. Ciao. So now, yeah, he's changing his tune. Yeah, I don't think. I mean, listen, Odell Beckham is more for next year, I think, than this year at this stage of the game. If he's going to give you anything, it's going to be in the playoffs, and you're not even quite sure about that. I think what makes it impossible to sign this guy, like he's just being ridiculous. I mean, he's putting the dick in ridiculous. I mean, seriously, I'm coming off an ACL that I suffered 10 months ago, but I'm not going to work out for you? Well, what do you think teams are going to do? What do you think people are going to say? And what would you think? Oh, man. Adams exploits. My prediction for the Eagles and Giants this week, this is before I found out Saquon Barkley might not play. I see it 38-10. I thought I was being a little bit generous with the 10. Without Saquon, I'm not sure the Giants score. I might have without Saquon, I'm going to adjust my score and make it 38-3. Take the touchdown off the board. I'm going to go 38-3. Pete Retzelaff. Yeah, you're old school, William. Good one. Good one. Yeah. Pete Retzelaff. And Pete Metzelaars was also another good one for the Bills. Justin Serrato, yes. Appreciate you tuning in, man. I got a little bit sidetracked last weekend with all my NFLPA scouting duties and hub football assignments. So I've been grinding since 3 a.m. this morning. This is wrapping up my first shift at the end of this show. Then I'm going to punch the time card and get ready for the second shift. We are now 50 days away from the 2023 NFLPA Collegiate Bowl, and I saw an email from Dane during the commercial break. I need to get back to the scouting. All right. Well, hey, that was the show for today. We had Mike Gill on earlier on in the show from 97.3 ESPN. Make sure you go check out his show today, the Sports Rage from 2 to 6. And we'll be back on Monday to recap the Eagles blowout. We'll have a little Monday night football action between the 6-6 New England Patriots. They'll take on the 4-8 Arizona Cardinals. We'll have Philadelphia native Howard Balzer join us on Monday's show. And it will be Bears week, right? Next week is Bears week, which Frankie Gradia, thank you. Hey, smash the like button on your way out, guys. I did see one last stat of the show. I'm full of stats today. The Bears, the Giants, and the Titans will be a good test for the Bears next week because I have here the top percentages of teams who like to run the football. The Bears do it 58.6% of the time, almost 60% of the time. They're the number one run offense in the NFL. That's who you're facing next week. So the Giants are at 50%. They're the fourth most. The Titans at 51%. They're the third most. The Cowboys, 48.7%. They're the sixth most. Eagles are right up there, 50.7%. So the Eagles, Giants, they both run the ball 50% of the time. Next week, you get the Bears. They run the ball 60% of the time. And we're already working on locking in some guests for the Bears week. And, hey, buckle up. Have a great weekend. Hopefully you enjoy it. Get some family time in. Maybe some of you will get down to the gallery down at the Ocean Casino Resorts. You're home for the Pondley Hockey pre- and post-game. And with that being said, we'll do one last roll call to the chat room people. JC, 5-star FSG, William Stark, David B., all the chat room people. Debbie Rush, good to see you. Holding it down out in San Diego. We got Brick City. We got Paul Mancini down in North Kakalaka. Oh, baby. Dank Burrito. Joey Burr, the backup plan. Eric, welcome to the show. Man, we had a great week once again, didn't we? Frankie Gradia and all my chat room people. Danny D, hold it down for me up there in Brick City. And, hey, 2 hours of power down means what? Means we are officially 49 hours away from kickoff and 2 minutes away from the sports take here on the JAKIB Sports YouTube channel. Again, click the subscribe for all of our show notifications. Smash that like button if you want to do your boy a solid. And we'll see you on Monday, everybody. Peace out. Thanks.
Go to get your game on. Go for the beers. Go for the cheers. Go for the hit and the hits. Go for the stakes and the stakes. Go to get your parlay on. Go to get your party on. Go for the scene. Go for the screens. Go for the gallery. Go for the win. Go to Ocean. Visit theoceanac.com to plan your visit.
Philadelphia fans, we're cut from a different cloth. Born into a brotherhood and bonded to our team for life. We believe anything is possible because we've witnessed the impossible. While we may be from different neighborhoods, come Sunday, we are one, and we will be heard. Pondley Hockey, official partner of the Philadelphia Eagles.